Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. I'm your host, Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by Miss Kathleen Ives. But before bringing up Kathleen to the stage, I want to thank one of our amazing sponsors, Money Ripples, owned by Mr. Chris Miles. Money Ripples helps you to create a financial base and legacy through alternative ways of investing to create passive income to leave your family the financial legacy that you deserve to leave them. Again, we thank Chris Miles and Money Ripples for sponsoring this episode. Now, here she is, Kathleen. How you doing today, Kathleen?
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for joining us. So, first question, young lady, what does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
To me, being authentic is all those parts of yourself that you systematically go to hide in public or online or when you're talking to someone and you get a little hesitation from your ego of like, should I say this? Are they going to think I'm weird? Should I do this? Should I show this? The more you can strip away those layers and those curtains and be able to show your true, authentic soul self and what you like and dislike and all of that without the fear, but still continuing to do it of other people's reaction to that, that is being authentic to me.
You know, Kathleen, this is really awesome because I was out running this morning. So, probably about maybe about 6 months ago, somewhere I made a promise to myself to run 6 days a week, and then I had the stem cell full body injection procedure done about 2 months ago. And I had to, kind of get my way back into it slowly and had a bad hip from football and it's getting a lot better, but still when I was able to like walk, I started walking. Now I'm back running again. Again, just trying to work through the pain. It's getting a lot better. But my point is that I made the commitment to myself to do it, right? Now I was running this morning. I saw a gentleman who's in my neighborhood that I know, really great guy. Him and his wife have a young daughter, dog people, just amazing people. And he said, Marques, it's cold out here. It's about 20 degrees outside. He said, you're either extremely disciplined or you're a little bit mad. Which one is it? I said, well, you pick your pick, right? But my point is that I'm disciplined. But my point to that is that if I'm going to make a commitment and say I'm going to do something, no matter what people think about me or what they think about my decisions, I'm going to be my authentic, true self. Do I like running in 20-degree weather? Not really. No, I don't. But I do like doing what I said I'm going to do and not really worrying about, right, Kathleen, what other people are going to say about me and how I live my life. And so I love you said to strip away. Don't worry about what everybody's going to say about you. I tell people all the time, people are going to talk about you regardless of what
Sure.
you do. So just live your life. This is
Yeah.
awesome. So, Kathleen, tell us more about your backstory and then the work you're currently doing now to help your clients.
Yes. So I actually I'm from Michigan, the great cold state of Michigan. And after college, I moved to Denver
Mhm.
and I worked in the pet industry. I worked in social media for a long time. I had this dog. I love dogs. And at the time, she was my heart and soul and everything. And I was also in a 10-year relationship at the time. And I had the
Mhm.
house, I had the job, I had everything. At this point, I was working in corporate marketing for almost 10 years.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I have this quote unquote perfect life some people would wish for. Why am I
Mhm.
feeling like I'm not fulfilled? Why am I feeling unhappy? Why am I feeling like there's more that I could be doing? And I'm working my ass off. I'm not sitting around and I'm like,
Mhm.
why do I feel like there's more? I started feeling guilty. I started gaslighting myself. I started being like, wow, you're really ungrateful for your life that you have that's beautiful. How could you want more than this? And a true catalyst came from after I ended the 10-year relationship and my soul dog died about the same exact time. And then I got a job in Los Angeles and moved here. my whole world flipped upside down. And I was like, okay, I'm alone for the first time. I need
Mm,
to figure out who is Kathleen? What is she
mm-hmm,
like? What is she
mm,
outside of a partnership, outside of having someone to nurture, someone to care for, even a dog to take care of? I only had me for the first time in my entire life. And going through that in a brand new big city was treacherous and beautiful at the same time. And all of these
mm-hmm,
things started coming to light. Like, if you have a pizza and all of the pieces of the pie are your energy in different areas, and you maybe give one slice to your wife, your husband, one slice to your kids, one slice to maybe your body, working out, health, like you have a certain amount of slices of energy. And when you're giving that to one person or to a relationship or to, you don't have any left for yourself. So once you
mm-hmm,
finally have that full pie, you're like, whoa, I could do this. I could do this. I have these gifts. I have these gifts. I'm more sensitively in tune to things, and I started feeling sensitivities to the other side, to spirit, to people that had passed. And I was like, I'm going insane. Like, what is going on? And I couldn't help it. It was just an opening of my heart that was so big that these messages and things started coming through. And then I realized very shortly that I was able to help other people with their grieving process
mm,
through giving them readings and intuitive sessions and helping kind of bridge that gap between the other side and this side, and sort of mending some unsaid things and ties and forgiveness that needed to be said. And I started doing this, and it just, I have never in my life felt so fulfilled. No job, no career. When I was little, I was like, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder and be the marketing
mm-hmm,
head and all that.
mm-hmm,
And I did all that, and I wasn't happy. And I was
mm-hmm,
like, this isn't giving me what I thought it would give me. And
mm-hmm.
truly working with the other side and helping people intuitively, that fulfilled me more than anything I've ever done in the world. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. And then once I started working with my clients, I started learning so much from the other side, from their loved ones, from what they're experiencing, what struggles people are going through. And it just came to me like, I need to write a book about this, because
Mm.
people always say, you work with death, you're a death doula, you're a spirit medium, you're all these things, but you're so joyful. Like, how are you so joyful? And it's really two sides of the same coin. We are also afraid of death and talking about it, and it's this taboo subject, but we only fear things we don't know. And so the more
Mhm.
you talk about something, the more you make it more normal to discuss, the less fear surrounds it. And the more we can talk things through and feel more comfort. So that's when I started to write my book. And I started writing it about a year and a half, and it just launched actually in August. 7 Ways to Live in Joy Today. And
Mm.
um, it's truly the tools I used to live at a baseline of joy instead of having happiness and joy something I'm chasing. It doesn't mean I don't go through things. It doesn't mean I don't have sad days, but living at that baseline of joy makes the really hard traumatic things so much easier when you know that there's so much love on the underneath of all of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is really sensational because what Kathleen is talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the foundation of your life needs to be joy, fulfillment, serenity, peace, love. Again, does that mean you're not going to have hard days? Of course not. We all are going to have hard days. I don't care who you are, how much money you have, this, that, and the other. All of us have challenging days. But what Kathleen is doing and has done with her awesome book, she is giving you the tactical tools that she's utilized in her life to go from working the corporate ladder, climbing, things like that, realizing that what she was doing was really for everybody else but her. That's what I'm hearing. And I tell everybody, if everybody around you is happy, if everybody around you is full of like, yay, yay, but you don't like you lose. You lose because you're the one that has to look at yourself in the mirror every day. Am I fulfilled? Is what I'm doing my calling or my passion? Is what I'm doing what I'm really supposed to be doing? If you can't answer that, I don't know the answers to those questions in your career and your life, something is going to have a problem. You heard Kathleen say she broke up a 10-year relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I believe some people with divorce is so high. You get married to somebody, you don't even know who you are. And then from there, you're trying to figure out who am I? And this, you have other people in life, and then kids come into play, and all these things. Because I'm divorced, right? And that's something that where I'm at now. I know who I am, and I'm every day I'm just trying to get better, learn myself, be the best version of myself. But again, at the baseline of everything is joy and peace in my life now. So, Kathleen, before we get to like your book, right? What's your thoughts on this? So I struggled for a while after my divorce and went to an apartment. It was dark and gloomy. It was horrible, right? Just all kinds of like anxiety, fear, just like what's going on? How did I get here? And then one day I woke up and said, you know what? Enough is enough. And I got my life back on track. I started working hard. And then I got moved, I just call it God, faith, whatever, moved me, right, Kathleen, into a development called Serenity.
Mm,
Okay. And then after that, it went a step further, right, Kathleen? God moved me on to Serendipity Drive.
I love that.
So, talk about how in life, right, Kathleen, as we're having these challenges, if we just focus on the baseline of joy, fulfillment, and all these positive things, it allows us to be able to pivot, deal with hardship, and have a much more fulfilled, joy filled life.
Absolutely. And I will say it sounds easier to someone who's closer to the other side, like of joy, where, if we're living at a baseline of joy, it's easy to be like, okay, let's take a moment and think about all the joy in our day. I want to touch on the fact that maybe a lot of people watching, they are so in a hole right now that they're like,
Mhm,
I can't even open my eyes in the morning. I don't even want to get out
mhm,
of bed. I'm not
mhm,
worried about joy right now. So joy doesn't have to be this huge, far away balloon that we're trying to float to. You can find joy in the micro moments. If the only thing getting you out of bed in the morning is maybe like a double shot espresso, and like that espresso is like the only thing you look forward to in the day, and that's where you're at. Keep focusing on that joy, that ritual, how do you feel
mhm,
when you drink that coffee? If it's your dog that's getting you out of bed or whatever, because a lot of people that go through really dark depression, they're like, that's great, you're joyful, but like I'm so far from that.
mhm,
And a little practice I like to do is, anyone can do this in any state of mind. If you are just looking for a little bit more joy, you can close your eyes, take a deep breath, and like look around you and find three things that you see with your eyes right now, wherever you are, that either inspire you, that you're drawn to, or that you just like or find interesting. It doesn't even have to be something that brings you joy necessarily. You could be on the subway and be like, this guy's blue sweater. I like that blue sweater. So the more you notice little things that you prefer that bring you joy, because things you prefer and that you like are things that end up bringing you joy. So the more
mhm,
you start to notice
mhm.
that art of noticing, then more and more will attract into your life, and you'll start noticing lots of things you like and lots of things that you prefer and lots of things that bring you joy, and that compounds. So the more you do that, the more you learn to do that, and the more that joy starts to compound, where maybe at first it was only your espresso in the morning that made you happy. Now maybe it's your espresso, that man's blue sweater, and the sunshine coming down. Little things will accumulate. And when they accumulate, then you can really start to use that energy to shift your mindset and change your whole life.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is riveting. I'm going to tell you what, that's exactly what happened to me. It was basically mid January 2023 when I went from this hell on earth to neutral, right? I just start saying to myself, okay, Marques, we're going to get back to waking up at 5 o'clock. And sometimes it was 5:15, sometimes it was 5:30, sometimes it was 5:45. I just focused on getting up earlier every single day. Sometimes it was 5:45, then maybe become 5:40, became 5:35, right? So it was the little small wins because for so long, November until that point, it was like 8 o'clock. I was like just getting up and going right to coaching, not working out, drinking heavily, feeling like a failure every night, and just basically passing out from drinking too much alcohol and saying, wow, here is my everyday. This was, and Kathleen, this was only November of 2022. This is
Yeah.
only 3 years ago. That's it. It was
Yeah.
3 years ago. So again, I love this. Focus on the micro, the little things. It doesn't have to always be these big, huge things. Oh, I did this big thing today. No, it's just, you know what? You got up a little bit earlier today.
Mhm.
Hey, you took a few more steps today. Hey, you just got up and you did a little stretching today, right? People say, oh, Marques, you work out all the time. Like, well, that's me. If you're struggling to get back on track, just wake up and give yourself 5 minute walk,
Yep.
10 minute walk. Just make it small. And what happens is those micros start compounding into macros. And that's what we're going for. Kathleen, let's shift focus now to your awesome book. Again, for our listeners all across the world, you can pull it back up and please say, what is the title of your book?
7 ways to live in joy today, which is
Lo-
a little play on enjoy as well.
okay.
Um, but it's really so when I was going through some of the darkest times, I saw all these books and they're like huge dissertations on mental health, and it seemed very intimidating. And I was like, I'm not in a space right now where I can read a 200, 300, 400 page book on how to be happy. So I specifically made it's like 114 pages, very short, very easy to read. And it's not even chapters, it's made of doors. So there's 7 doors. And so you can go through any door that you feel called to. You don't have to start at the beginning. You don't have to read till the very end. If you open up and you're like, door 5 speaks to me, then go walk through door 5. If you're like, door 5 doesn't speak to me, try another door. So I wanted to make it very low intimidation. Like anyone can pick this up, go through it. And even though I personally lead a very spiritually entangled life, and like that is the web I use when I help my clients and stuff, this is not a spiritual book. This is not anybody, any belief system, any religion could pick this up and use these mindset tools to change their life and at least add a 1 to 2% more joy, guaranteed. Like I can't imagine someone reading this book and not feeling a little joyful. Like it really, it's easy to digest. It's bite-sized bits. I have a knack for metaphors, and it just makes sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into, and I know the mission is about finding joy, things like that, and I get that. But before I get more specific about what is the main takeaway, other than how to have more joy, which has already been laid out through the title and through your awesome
Yeah,
energy last segment, okay? I have a question for you, okay? Kathleen, do you know who Aristotle was?
I do.
Okay. Do you know who Aristotle coached to become famous and become probably the most well-known philosopher from ancient times to this day going forward? Do you know who he coached and he mentored?
I'm not going to get it right, so I'll let you serve it.
Alexander the Great.
Mm,
And the fifth thing that he taught Alexander the Great, in order to get people to follow you, want to be inspired by you, and want to be led by you, is conciseness.
hmm
Aristotle said that people have the attention span of a gnat. And I love that about your book because at the end of the day, you said it best. People are busy, right? 114 pages with 7 doors. It's very easy to digest. You can start anywhere. You can pick up the door. You can start to go seven and go back to 1 to 3. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, right? It's so laid out well by the author. Can you just give me tell me one thing? How did you really think about, or other than, of course, time and things like that, which is, of course, is a normal answer. What else led you, right, Kathleen, to be concise with this awesome project?
I think I went through so many modalities of healing myself, whether it's the journaling, which I also have journal pages in between the chapters, so you could take notes of each door. But I went through every sort of retreat and whatever to try to feel better. And I realized sometimes it would just be like one little thing in a whole day of an 8-hour retreat that really hit. And so I would take notes of like, what is really hitting from this 400-page book? What actually hit? And a lot of times, you could sit here and talk about psychological concepts for hours, but what is at the root of it? Like if I had to explain joy to a 3-year-old, which I probably don't because they know it pretty well, but if I had to, or to an older person, how would I do that? How would I make it stick? And a lot of these concepts came through just I would free write. I would meditate, I would tap in, I would elevate my frequency and just free write. And like whatever dumped out, I would cut it down and be like, okay, here's the inside. Here's the nugget of this. Because I can be very long-winded. So this was not easy for me, but I really wanted to make sure it was from the heart. And I think we live in a society where everyone's chat GPTing everything, and not a word of this book came from chat. It was all truly from my heart. And that's how I knew that I almost felt like spirit was writing it through me. Like it was, here is what people need, and you are going to be the vessel.
You know, what's very interesting, Kathleen, you said something in that awesome last segment, how you wouldn't have to explain joy to a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old. Isn't it very interesting? The older we get, unless we've been like reading books like yours or learning how to have more joy in our life, we lose a sense of joy, excitement, peace as we get older. And it's quite unfortunate because, again, if you learn how to deal with life through life, the other side, the whole again, you said it best. People, why people fear so many things, death, it's the unknown. You have no idea what happens. So if you can speak to someone and kind of give them more insight or in like joy in that regard to what is on the other side or what you believe or from what you've learned or your experiences, I feel people would be less fearful. Now, again, doesn't mean that you're not going to still have fear to some degree, but if we knew what was on the other side, at least have some inkling, I feel people would be a lot less fearful in that regard. Because at the end of the day, we all are going to unfortunately not be here, but it doesn't mean we have to live our lives based off of fear. Then,
Mm-hmm.
because at that point, what are we living for? What are we living
Right.
for? Nothing. So, Kathleen, what is, other than how to live that joy, what is one thing that you want your audience to take away from reading your very phenomenal book project?
Thank you. Um, I think two things come to mind. Number one, it's not about changing everything in your life right away or your mindset. It's about allowing all feelings, thoughts. I like to think of thoughts as Airbnb guests. Thoughts and feelings, like they come, they stay, they go. They always do. They're going to cycle. So I think so many people get caught up in, well, I can't have joy because I'm like this. Just allow feeling. Feeling a feeling is not fatal. It might feel painful emotionally, but you're not going to die from feeling a feeling. Like, allow your feelings, because if you don't, they can manifest physically in your body and cause disease. Because when you're not in a state of or when you are in a state of dis-ease, it causes disease. And
Mm.
so just allowing yourself to feel anger, sadness, happiness. Some people aren't even allowing themselves to be happy. So that allowing is one of the biggest things I want people to take from this book. Even if you don't do all the concepts, just allow and notice what's going on. And number two is really all the work I've done with the other side, and even just with our dog passing this weekend. I've been so time and time again reminded, the great Ram Dass says it best, death is like taking off a tight shoe. we go back to love. We go back home. This soul school we're in that is magnificent and beautiful. This 3D plane is where we get to take thoughts and manifest them into matter to make our souls grow however we choose. And what a beautiful gift that is. But once we're done and we graduate and we learn what we need to learn from this life here, we get to take that tight shoe off. We get to go home. We get to be in love. We get to not have any pain, any anxiety. Those are all human emotions. The spirit world doesn't have that. So, if anything, once I personally, I'm not looking forward to it anytime soon, but whenever it does happen, I welcome death. I think it'll be the most beautiful transformational experience. And then I get to go back to peace, all eternal peace, until my soul decides it wants to learn something else. So it's not this big, scary ending. It's truly just a going back to peace. And so I think if people knew that more, I've hundreds of clients, people on the other side, pets, everything have told me the same thing. They can't all be lying. Um, yeah, I think that peace and that love is what you want to hang on to.
Kathleen, fantastic interview. Great perspective on how to look at something that so many people fear to not fear this much. Again, love this. If people want to connect with you, buy your book, where can our audience get in touch with you?
Yes, I am at Kathleen Ives with an underscore on all social media platforms. My book is available on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, and some bookstores very soon. So, yeah, you can find 7 Ways to Live in Joy. I also have my website, KathleenIves.com. I have my email on there if anyone wants to book a reading or get in touch or just send me a hello. I am around.
Ladies and gentlemen, reach out to Kathleen, connect with her. She is awesome, and I know you'll enjoy her work. If you want more information and you want to have a call with her, please do so and set that up ASAP. We want to thank Chris Miles and Money Ripples for sponsoring this episode. And the authentic tip of this great interview in life, just learn how to be at peace wherever you're at and learn how to build your joy back up through micro movement and micro items. And the micro items they build and build and build will become macro. Don't give up on yourself. Oh, I got up today. That's all I did. Well, that's okay. You got up. You got out of bed. That's a win. Build on that tomorrow. The micro builds turn into macro events. Just keep going. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.